Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a totally normal podcast about films, aka ATNPAF. I am your host, the lovely Claire, and I am joined by my co-host,
Leon.
And for today's film, we decided not to leave Japan because we watched Paprika.
Yeah, it's not that much of a horror flick as I teased it last time. Because it was Claire's birthday and I gifted it to her, so we just went with Paprika.
And I was very grateful for the gift, for the movie, and not having to watch Pulse. That's going to be an interesting watch. So this was the final film by the legendary director Satoshi Kon.
Yeah, sadly.
Quite sadly. He created other movies such as Tokyo Godfathers and Perfect Blue. And so just generally, what was your opinion on this movie?
My opinion. Well,
Yeah.
I gifted it to you, so I like it. I like it a lot. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And it's from a director I admire. So everything he does was like a little masterpiece in my eyes.
Oh yeah, I love this film. It was fantastic. Obviously we'll be getting into details about the plot and stuff later when we go to spoiler territory. But this was one of the most well thought out and well animated things I've ever watched.
Yeah, I got some so not really insider info, but I researched a little bit about the background of the movie, so we can talk about this too.
Yeah, I did too. I especially looked into one of my biggest plot questions about the ending, which we'll get to.
Okay.
So, for those of you who want to actually watch this movie but are just popping in to get our opinions, we both liked it.
Yeah.
Are they gone now? Okay, I'm assuming the spoiler-free people are gone. Let's spoil the hell out of the movie.
Okay. So, do you want to sum it up? Should I, or should we just go with the flow?
Yeah, let's give a bit of a summary, because this is a bit of a... It's not quite like Mothra, you know, where it could be like, it's about a giant monster and you kind of get what's going on. It's a bit more complex, isn't it? So, do you want to start with a summary and then we just kind of go off it?
Yeah, I can do that. So, the basic plot is there's this doctor or scientist, he's named Kosaku Tokita. Sorry for my pronunciation.
Oh, there's going to be a lot of butchering
Yeah.
of the beautiful language.
So, Tokita, he's a man-child, but a genius. And he invented a device called DC Mini. With this DC Mini, he can access people's dreams. And they used it to do dream therapy. So therapists use the device to enter the dreams of their clients and to help them overcome trauma. So that's the basic idea of this device. But the DC Mini gets stolen. And yeah, basically it's about who stole it, and the story unfolds from this point.
And then there's also two other factors into this, there's three other factors into it, which is there's the mystery of people start basically going completely insane. which they work out is connected to the DC Mini very early on, but, there's also that thing of, like, why? There is a detective who is getting therapy to solve a murder.
Yeah, it's Konakawa.
Yes. And then there is the mysterious dream therapist Paprika herself.
Yep. Did you want to say something?
Other than... I don't think there's much more I can add on to the basic summary.
Yeah, it's really just a basic plot. And it's not that much focused on this part. It's more focused on the imagery and the dreams itself, I think.
Yeah, it's absolutely, like, it's a great plot, but you could tell where the focus went, and not complaining, it's a visually stunning movie.
It is indeed.
Like, if you just want to see how, like, visually impressive this is, just watch the opening credits.
Yeah, the first few minutes are amazing.
Like, I think my favorite, like, the whole movie's well animated, but I think my favorite scene for just animation is when they're in the greenhouse and they're getting attacked.
Oh, okay. So near the ending.
Wave. Yeah, and it's jumping ahead in time a little bit, but like the wave of branches and stuff.
It's visually stunning, yes.
I also really like the whole stuff with like when she becomes a fairy and all that. What's your favourite animated scene?
My favourite scene? I think it's actually the opening sequence. Like, when they start from this circus setting and go on into other scenes. So, actually, the film starts in, what was his name again? Konakawa's dream. So, it starts in this circus setting, and Konakawa is searching for someone, and suddenly he's in the center of the circus in a cage, and it happens really fast. So first he's with all the other viewers at the side. Then a person points to him, and we cut back to the center, and then he is inside a cage. And suddenly a lot of people want to watch this cage, and all of them have his face. Then he gets sucked.
It's just that entire sequence is like everything from the fact that like when he's talking to like the guy in the audience, it's the mask that's speaking.
Yeah.
And they call back to that scene a lot. Mostly because it's very important to the plot.
Yeah, they do. And I like the transitions between the dreams. So, from this circus dream, he gets sucked through the ground and is suddenly in a more action scene, like somebody is strangling him. And
it's the strangling, and then is it the boxing match next where Paprika's like beating the living shit out of people?
Yeah, it's a boxing match. Then there's a romance scene where Konakawa is a photographer.
And then there's the murdery one.
Yeah. And I just love how they visualize dreams and stuff that actually happens in dreams, like when he's running down this hallway and the hallway around him warps and transforms, so he doesn't get any further. Stuff like this. I think everybody knows when you're running in a dream and you don't actually move.
The film the film represents dreams so amazingly. Like, I think it's very easy to write dreams as like just like, oh, it's a magical version of the world, but dreams are weird.
Yeah, you don't have to understand dreams. So that's what the first few minutes show you. You don't actually know what's going on, to be honest. It just happens.
And a lot of it isn't even foreshadowing, but then there are the ending bit of his dream is connected. You know, it's connected to the murder. We can get into that whole plot thread later, because that is...
Yeah.
There's an extra thing about that I want to discuss, and I feel like we should maybe leave that for the end, but, yeah. But it's also tied to the ending.
Ah, okay. So we just talk about it later then.
Yeah.
Just jot it down somewhere so we don't forget about it.
So, one of the big things I wanted to talk about, and considering we could just talk about the animation and dreams, the music. Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on the music?
Oh, it's so good. There are 3 bits of the music I want to discuss, which is, the main theme.
Yeah.
Which is just really, really great. There's the dream, like when the dream parade is going on. And then there's... So, I don't know if it was just me, but whenever, Paprika was getting kind of the dream was suddenly going to be, interrupted by, that corrupted dream.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed there was an audio cue.
Yeah. They did it a lot.
It was a very subtle one, but, after a few times, it was like, oh, that's clever. just the way, guys, it's about to get a little weird.
Yeah, and it gets even weirder when the parade actually gets into your dream.
Yeah. And it doesn't get less weird. The parade just only gets more weird.
Yeah, maybe we should talk about the parade.
Yeah.
Because it has this main theme you just talked about.
Yeah, that... I don't even know how to describe it. Did you know that piece of music was actually written... So, you're only meant to, half remember it?
What? What?
that piece of music?
Yeah.
That plays in the dreams?
Yeah.
It was specifically made so, you can't fully remember all of the details it was from a dream.
Ah. No, I didn't know.
But now that you do, you can't help but try and think back, and then you realise, wait, no, there are spots in it which I don't remember.
Yeah. So the composer did it on a Amiga computer. I know that. And I know that it was one of the first soundtracks that used Vocaloid vocals. So Hatsune Miku and stuff like that.
That is pretty cool. Yeah. Gosh, 2000. The fact that 2000, the film was 2006. Yeah, I associate Vocaloids. Have kind of always been around, but they're new. They're recent.
Yeah.
And so the parade.
Yeah. I think the parade is one of the few examples where I think CGI is used great in an anime. So you did notice it was CGI, but it was well integrated in the visuals.
Yeah, because CGI is so hard to pull off. It's becoming a pet peeve of mine now whenever I'm watching an action anime and they're fighting getting intense, and the main character is now suddenly CGI. I'm like, no, I understand if it's a little bit, but it's distracting if it suddenly changes to CGI.
Yeah, I think it's well,
sorry, I'm drinking
CGI
coffee.
no problem. So CGI has its advantages. For example, for really complicated camera shots or movement. Then I think it can be used efficiently and it blends in very well. But I don't know, as soon as they try to animate over animated characters, it gets kind of weird.
Yeah, like, I feel like... Okay, a good example of an example of anime using CGI well versus not. Okay, I've already brought up the big fight protagonist is suddenly CGI.
Yeah.
That's bad. But if it's something like... And I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Does this. The Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. And they summon, their big boss monster dragon. I'm okay with that being CGI because it kind of plays the contrast.
Yeah, if there's a stark contrast, I mean, if it's like if there are set rules. For example, the monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Are CGI, but the characters are drawn. Stuff like that, then I don't mind. It was the same with Beyblade, I think.
Yeah, Beyblade, yeah, because, like, to be honest, I think that would actually look ugly if the bays were not CGI.
Yeah.
I know Voltron himself is CGI, which looks so good because it's done in a way that, like, you obviously notice it's CGI, but kind of similar to Paprika, it's like, it's not distracting.
Yeah.
And so we've got on a huge tangent. But
we should go back to the movie, I guess.
Yeah. So I think I want to now we're kind of getting into some of the more plot stuff. I think that was a very good time for me to discuss my journey in working out who the fuck Paprika actually is.
It's hard to understand during the first watch, yeah.
Because at first, I clocked on that there was a connection between, I do not remember her name, the main girl.
Chiba, Dr. Chiba.
Chiba and Paprika. I knew there was some kind of connection.
And
as the film went on, you started seeing stuff like Paprika, like, kind of being like, okay, I'll take over now, or, like, she appearing in like, reflections to talk to her. Which led me to believe, is she, like, a split personality or something?
Okay.
Or, like, a ghost, or, something like that. And then by the end, I actually really loved, like, the metaphor that, like, the whole idea that, like, because of, like, Japan's work industry and, like, sexism, she has to put on this front of, like, strong, emotionless, businesswoman. But in dreams, she can be herself. She can, like, Paprika is, like, the spice of her life. It's the side of her she can't show, but she can show in dreams.
Yep, and I think they actually address it directly in the movie. So, was this a scene you wanted to talk about, or?
Yeah, go on, we may as well.
Yeah, so I thought of the scene where so later in the movie, dreams start to merge with the real world, and the parade goes through the city and stuff, and yeah, it's really weird to look at.
Yeah, and a lot of people die, and I don't think they address that. Like, there are people jumping off buildings, and I'm like, are we just not going to talk about that now that the dream's over?
No. Well, there was a lot of explosions too, so...
Yeah. Tokyo's been destroyed enough times. I think they're used to it at this point.
So, second episode and Tokyo gets destroyed again. Okay.
Yeah. Poor Tokyo.
Yeah. Okay, so what I wanted to say is, Paprika, and Chiba, they meet. So, as two separate persons. They actually talk to each other and are in the same world, for example. So it shows clearly that dream and reality are merging. And the professor, his name was the names. It's always Tokita.
Just the professor who made it. Yeah, Tokita.
Yeah, Tokita. So he turned into a giant robot because he lost himself in a dream too and turned mad.
Yeah, basically, he, one of the potential culprits who it got turned out it got set up, he tried to go into his dream to try and like fix it and ended up trapping himself.
Yeah. So now he's a giant robot and goes through the city, and Chiba says she wants to save him, and Paprika says we have to leave him and fight the bigger evil, so the main villain of the story. And then Chiba says something along the line like, you have to obey me because you are a part of me, and Paprika says, maybe you should consider that you could be a part of me. So exactly what you said.
Yeah, and yeah, it's very well done in that regard. Like I like that, and I like that it was a bit of a slow burn to working it out. And I also like this on the topic of Paprika, the mystery Paprika. I like that this is a mystery movie, but the answers to the mysteries are a little more interesting. So, with the detective, the fact that not only is the homicide case not connected to the rest of it, it's not even a homicide case.
No, not at all.
Again, we'll get to that because there is a very big I'm about to break everyone's heart thing when we get to that.
Okay.
Do you want to get onto the villain next, or is there something you want to focus on?
I just wanted to add, you said that you don't actually knew where this movie was going to go during your watch, right?
Yeah.
So you didn't even have a clue where this story could conclude later on.
Yeah, like honestly, it was like I was on a roller coaster. I was like, okay, this is getting weird.
Yeah, and this is exactly what Satoshi Kon wanted. So during the process of making this movie, he started to do the storyboard and stuff like this before the actual script was finished. So he didn't know how the movie ends because this is what he wanted. He wanted to start before the script is finished so he could focus on the stuff that already is written out, because he was afraid if he knew the end, he would set up everything so subconsciously he would lead or allude to the end.
Yeah, like not to foreshadow it, and that's like a dream.
Yeah.
And if anything, it makes it a very memorable and interesting story. And I think it only has, with the way that that's been written, it explains my biggest plot issue with it, alongside with another thing. But it's a miracle that it only caused for me one plot issue. I may as well bring this up now.
Yeah, just talk about it.
Chiba and Takita comes out of nowhere. At the end, they get together, and it was like, okay. I was like, okay, I get that they were friends, but where is this coming from?
I think the elevator scene earlier showed it a little bit.
Oh yeah, there was a little sprinklings of it, but like I feel like,
and also that Tokita called her Achan, I think.
Oh yeah, he was very endearing to her.
Yeah.
I do know, because I know this is based on a book.
Yes.
And I do know that the book has a much nicer explanation that I like, which is that Tokita actually brings out her emotions more. Like he in a way brings Paprika out in her.
Yeah.
Which is very sweet. I just kind of wish they'd repped that a little more. But you know, a small thing on a, like, to clarify, and this will apply to every movie we watch that I enjoy. I critique the stuff I love.
Yeah. Me too. So
nothing is perfect. But nothing is absolutely perfect. But if anything, that makes stuff better for me.
It does. So you wanted to talk about the main villain?
Yes, and okay, so there's a couple things about the main villain. I noted that he looked a little bit like Xavier.
Yeah, I thought that too.
So there's basically two villains. There is the CEO of the company, who is in a wheelchair, and is it like his bodyguard or his right-hand man?
I think he's another doctor in this facility.
Yeah. They stole two of the devices, and they're the ones, like, they're basically the ones fucking
behind
stuff
everything, yeah.
And they do some cool stuff. The doctor guy kinda tries to rape, which I'm like, okay.
Well, he's pretty much about to do it, but gets stopped.
Yeah. In an amazing fashion, like. In fact,
yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to retract my statement. The greenhouse scene isn't my favourite scene. It's the scene where the detective saves her because of just how it brings everything full circle. And then that scene in the hallway where he takes him out is so satisfying.
Yeah.
The detective's my favourite character. He's such a cool guy.
Yeah, the detective, I feel like he's the one the audience can connect to the most. So he doesn't actually know what is going on, but he just goes with it.
Yeah, he's not just there screaming and fainting. He's there like, well, this is happening now.
Yeah.
But I have a slight... It's like, the villain's great. I loved his whole idea of, like, trying to use dreams to achieve perfection. I will say, this is not an issue with the movie. This is just an issue with cinema in general. You know, you see enough films, you start to notice these tropes.
Yeah.
not the biggest fan of the plot point that is disabled person develops a god complex and that goes evil to become not disabled. Like, I get the plot point, but I've seen it enough times where I'm like, is this an ableist trope?
Yeah, for me the villain was maybe the weakest part of the movie. Because, yeah, he just was evil. So yeah, he wanted to be able to walk again, and he thought of himself as the protector of dreams, because I think he was against the whole project.
Yeah, he was constantly criticizing it as just dark science.
Yeah, so he was like, science and people in general shouldn't interfere with dreams.
And I agree with you that he's the weakest part of the movie, because it's like the film is kind of more. The film is great and interesting, but the film's a little more interesting where it's dark science gone haywire.
Yeah.
Over, yes, I'm evil. You know. Also, Paprika eats him to death, and that's very funny.
It's a really nice scene, yeah.
I didn't hate him as a villain. It just a weak character in a much greater movie.
Yeah, so don't get me wrong. If I criticize this part as the weakest, it doesn't mean that he's a super bad villain.
Yeah.
I think he actually has his motivations, and yeah, he's good at evil.
I've seen worse villains.
Yeah.
Like, at least he had a motivation, which, you know, I've seen villains who had prospects for interesting motivations and then were like, I forgot. I'm specifically calling out Sword Art Online. Now.
What the hell is going on at your end right now?
I live near a fire station.
Oh, okay.
I just kind of have to deal with that every like so often.
Yeah, as long as your house doesn't burn.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my house is on fire. Now,
okay.
There's a scene I definitely want to talk about.
Okay.
It's a location, which is the bar. And my first
the
thought,
radio club, yes.
Yeah, the radio club. And my first thought on the radio club was, this is the Velvet Room from Persona. And it's that one room, I think it's the Red Room from Twin Peaks.
And
just a little aside. One of my all-time favourite plot points is like mysterious rooms that are ran by supernatural entities that kind of exist between worlds. Like, I like those kind of like.
You mean the waiter and the bartender?
Yeah, like I like the waiter and the bartender. I like the whole idea of like the radio club where it's kind of disconnected from everything else, but it's connected at the same time.
So just let me say, there's a little fun fact. Do you know who voiced the waiter and the bartender?
I did not.
So Satoshi Kon voiced the bartender.
Okay.
So the director voiced the bartender, and the waiter is voiced by the author of the book.
Oh, I like that. That's really nice.
And they kind of look similar to them.
That's quite a nice little detail.
Yeah, I love that.
I just want to just give some love. Like, I love that scene.
Yeah.
The scenes.
And I think it's funny because you said that there are these supernatural beings, and actually they are, because they created the world.
Yeah, they're
They
gods.
created Paprika. Yeah.
Oh.
So another interesting note is that the author himself asked Satoshi Kon to make this movie. So he approached him.
That's really cool.
Yeah, and he gave him full creative freedom.
Oh, that's even better. Because I know, and I completely understand it, like, a lot of authors are very protective of their work, and a lot of authors have issues with movie adaptations.
Yes, of course, because sometimes if you're not protective of your work, it ends up butchered.
Yeah, you end up
like Aragon.
Yeah, Aragon, Dragon Ball Evolution.
Yeah.
This is a very weird one, because even though the movie's considered a masterpiece, like, I love it, the author of Mary Poppins actually hated the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Saving Mr. Banks is a very inaccurate movie. It's a beautiful movie, it made me cry. I love Saving Mr. Banks, but that's not what happened. She did not like the movie.
Yeah, and Stephen King hates... I think he hates The Shining. Which
yeah,
is
The Shining
considered
movie's
a masterpiece
different.
too. So I think it's actually great when directors approach adaptations differently. So they use the source material to craft something new. Well, I do like when they stay true to the source material, like, for example, The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
They did a great job adapting these books. But I also like if they take the basic idea and make it their own. Like Stanley Kubrick with The Shining, or Satoshi Kon now with Paprika, because it's kind of
Spielberg
different.
with Jurassic Park as well. It's a very,
Yes.
It's a different. The movie and book are different.
And
Actually, yeah,
the author.
I'm glad he like approached and was like so willing to let him have creative freedom.
Yeah. The author himself was really happy with the end product, and he loved the music, because that was his most his biggest concern, that the music wasn't fitting.
And it ended up being absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, that is always relieving to hear that like the actual person behind it enjoys.
Yeah. There are some recordings of them, of Satoshi Kon and the author. The name of the author is Yasutaka Tsutsui. Just to name it.
Yeah.
He joined for the recording of his lines for The Waiter. And in these recordings, you can see how nervous Satoshi Kon is, because it was the first time he showed what happened to his work to the author, and he was really relieved when he saw that he liked it.
Yeah, I can imagine that's such a nerve-wracking thing to be like, oh wow.
Yeah.
This isn't me wrapping up, we can discuss more. But can I mention the detective thing now? Because we've been talking about, because we're on the topic of Satoshi Kon.
Yeah.
So the detective plotline, it's ended up that the hallway scene isn't actually a homicide case. Throughout the movie, it's a reference that he doesn't like movies, and it turns out that he and a friend of his were making a movie similar to that dream. And he never finished it. He dropped out of making it. But that friend did not reveal that he was actually terminally ill. So in his mind, he killed his friend. Because he dropped out the project, he killed his friend's legacy, and his friend died. And that's a great plot point. It's a really good mystery. I loved it.
And it explains why the detective's dreams are mostly based on movies.
Yes.
Even though he states that he doesn't like them.
And this is where we get to the sad bit. So, the ending of the movie, he returns to the radio club, and Paprika isn't there. But a letter is there for him, telling him to go watch a movie that's come out. When he goes to the cinema, I noticed, there were probably more, but I noticed there was a Tokyo Godfathers poster.
All the posters are Satoshi Kon movies.
They were all references, I'm like that. And he goes to watch the movie, and the film ends. This is the bit where I'm about to break your heart. The name of the movie was the next film Satoshi Kon was working on, and he passed away before he could finish it.
Yes, it's so sad.
And it's exactly like what happened in the film, passing away before you could finish your final project.
I think Satoshi Kon wasn't even that old.
Yeah, he was in his 40s?
Yeah.
It might have been a bit older, but he was not old, and it's a shame because it's always a shame to lose such a creative mind. I know for me, Jim Henson's the one where I'm like, because, there's always the question, if you could bring back one creative, who would you bring back?
Yeah.
And, well, for me, it's Jim Henson. It's absolutely Jim Henson. Satoshi Kon would probably now be high up on that list.
I think he would be my number one. He was 47 when he died.
He was 47, oh wow. Yeah, that's way too young.
Yeah. He could have made a lot of great movies.
Yeah, but he left us with quite a few great ones, and
yes, he did.
I've got to get through them.
And I just love how he his views on his art. So he was writing the or rather drawing the storyboard. And it took him 1.5 years to finish. Yeah, and that was pretty long, but he didn't want to be pushed. He wanted it to be perfect. And I think, especially for Paprika, it's hard to draw a storyboard because he had to connect every scene. And he said that while he was drawing a picture, he had the next one already in his mind.
That's just... There are so many scenes from that movie where I'm like, how would the storyboard even look? Could you imagine, the opening credits where, she's, jumping between imagery and stuff?
Yeah.
Could you imagine the animator's reaction to being given a storyboard? They're just like, okay, right, we're animating this. How?
Yeah, but you can take a look at the pictures he drew, and I think you can even buy the storyboard as a book.
Ooh.
It has 640 pages, I think.
Oh, wow.
And if you see this, it's amazing how detailed every shot is drawn. I can show you maybe a picture right now. Wait. You can talk if you want. While I search for it.
I'm not too aware of the animation process. I mean, I know of the animation process, but I've never experienced it. But yeah, I can imagine. considering that not only is this film stunning, it's incredibly well animated. Like, every scene feels so fluid. I think the term is sakuga, which is, a scene which is better animated than the rest.
Mm.
And this whole movie is just that.
Yeah. Wait, I sent you a picture now. Then you can take a look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And
people listening, sorry.
Yeah, maybe you can put a link in the show notes or something like that.
Yeah, I'll put one in just. I'll try and remember to reference certain stuff.
Yeah, or if you're watching on YouTube, you could, I don't know.
Oh my
put
gosh.
it in there. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, now imagine this for
oh my god, it's like a manga.
614.
It's like.
Maybe try to describe it to our listeners.
It's incredibly detailed, and I've never seen it like that. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So I think it's even more detailed than a manga. Some mangas, of course. There are incredibly detailed ones.
Yeah, like Junji Ito.
Yeah.
Which I'm very glad that many of the Junji Ito adaptations at movies aren't considered to be very good for his thing, because that means I don't have to watch them.
Nah, don't watch them.
So we're kind of approaching the 50-minute mark, so shall we just give our final thoughts? You got anything more to say on it, though?
If you're interested in Satoshi Kon's work and don't have the time to watch a whole movie, you can always watch his short film Ohio, which is amazing. So it's a short film about waking up, and how he visualizes waking up is amazing. I think it's only a minute, so you could just search it on YouTube, I guess, and watch it.
You see, for me, waking up is, what time is it? Can I sleep again? No. Okay, let's wait for my eyesight to remember that we are not asleep anymore. And now let's sit in bed for an hour.
Yeah. Okay, so we can wrap things up if you want.
Yep. So, yeah, so how exactly would you rate this movie?
From 1 to 10 again, right?
Yeah, might as well.
I think it's a 9 for me because, well, he's one of my favorite directors for a reason. And the only problem I have with the movie is the villain, yeah. And that's why it's only a 9.
I'd say I'd also say a 9, and because oh my gosh, this film is like a kind of a masterpiece. My only issue is the stuff I've brought up that but honestly, I don't even think there is a movie that's a 10.
It's hard for a movie to be a 10, and
if it's a 10, it's not going to be a 10 for everyone.
Yeah. It's always subjective. But yeah, go and watch Satoshi Kon's work. He's amazing.
Yes, please watch them. They seem to be very good movies, especially Paprika.
Yeah, and he even made a anime show, I guess.
Oh,
it was Paranoid Agent or Paranoia Agent. So yeah, 4 movies, short films, and a TV series.
Yep, there's quite a bit to get through. So, we've discussed this a little bit behind the scenes, but it is my time to pick to pick the movie for us to watch. I picked Mothra, Leon picked Paprika. And now it is my time. As we are going to be watching from 1922, the silent movie The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. Was it Caligari? I don't know. I won't find out because it's silent.
Yeah.
Well,
I always say Caligari.
It's probably Caligari.
So, wait, you said it was a German movie?
It's, I think it is. I think it's German Expressionism.
So then it's probably Caligari.
Yeah.
Caligari.
Yeah, it is a German Expressionist movie. I kind of... So whenever I think of this movie, in my mind, there are... And I'm only counting not Lost films here, because there'd be more if it was, if we counted Lost movies.
Mm.
But in my mind, the three great silent horrors is Nosferatu, The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, and The Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah.
If we included Lost, there'd also be like London After Midnight and stuff, but they're Lost, so. And I really want to watch it because I've been trying to get into silent movies more. It looks interesting. And I just thought it'd be a fun film to do, something a bit different, something also visually interesting. And it's a German movie.
Yeah, that's nice. So I don't know much about it, and yeah, I'm really curious to see what it's like.
The basic, I think, from what I can gather, the basic kind of idea is that Dr. Caligari has a minion who he uses to enact revenge on people.
Okay.
It's about as slashery as the 1920s got.
Okay. So looking forward to it.
I am too. Well, thank you all for watching.
Or listening.
Or however you have experienced this. Maybe you're in the year 3000 and you're like, I don't know, tasting it?
That would be nice.
Who knows?
Okay.
And we will see you next time.
See you.